Okay. All right, we are officially live. I am now going to once again just make sure that it is being picked up. Hopefully it is, right? Are we being picked up? Come on, YouTube. There it is. Let's go. All right, we're going to give everybody just a quick, like a couple of minutes to filter in here, but we are back again. Episode 5 officially, but I would say more like episode 2 of what feels like to me the proper the proper format that I have wanted for LSL Court Vision. And so here we are. And with me today as co-host is none other than former Iowa State head coach and now current North Carolina head coach, Mr. Smith. How are you doing today, my man?
Doing good. Excited for the incoming season.
It's very close. It's getting there. It's very close, and I'm excited for what could be happening soon. Although I see that right now, my laptop is low-key tripping out. Okay, it seems like we're good now, or we're about to be. I'm gonna let it stabilize as we wait for everybody to come in. It shouldn't take too long. I think I had the same issue like yesterday, where it was like when I first started the stream, it was acting all like weird on me, but then it figured itself out. So, but
Get
I
a chance to calibrate.
yeah, sounds like I'm not the only one with with technical difficulties, but it's all good. If you want to talk about yours, go ahead.
Um, yeah, just the camera and Discord. Discord doesn't like me. That's- I don't know if it's a I don't know if it's an internet thing or if it's a Discord doesn't like me thing. So,
Depends sometimes, especially with what you could be working with at the time, or maybe what's working in the background. Which, speaking of, I should low key close some of this stuff out, as I want to just at the very least at least have less running in the background. There we go. Mr. Noble Julian is here. What up? I believe that's Julian. Let me see. Godlieb. I think that's Mr. Julian Godlieb. What's up, good sir? I'll actually read YouTube comments for a little bit as I just make sure word gets out. But instead of doing primarily YouTube comments and all that, we do indeed have big news here. And unlike yesterday, where I spent majority of the time focusing on something negative, and for those that weren't here to um, listen along to it, and the whole LSU fiasco that's going on in real life with Will Wade moving unethically per usual. This time around, we're going to focus on something more positive. But if at the very least you want to put your 2 cents in and let everyone know what you think about it, and whether you see any upside or it's just complete downside from all of this, the floor is yours.
well, I mean, I think the upside to Will Ray deciding to go off the deep end is that it seems like everybody in the NCAA, all the fandoms, the reporters, even people that are actually part of the NCAA, finally are getting in some sort of unison agreement that this needs to change. And it didn't seem to do that with James Najee going to Baylor. Didn't seem to do that with the 5 games for Charles Bediako at Alabama. So maybe with Will Reid going now and not just signing one of these guys, signing 5 or 6 ineligible players, maybe this will be the tipping point, if you will. And I get that's it won't be a positive for LSU. Will Wade will probably cost him his job again and have to go back the mid-major route and whatnot. But I think for the whole of the NCAA, this might in the long run be a positive because it'll finally get this stuff handled with.
That's the hope, right? You hope that the NCAA finally saddles up, puts their big boy pants on, and decides enough is enough. We actually care about the sport, but judging how they handled the whole tournament expansion thing, do we really have any confidence? I personally don't, and that's where I'm worried. But at the very least, the one thing that I can say that I actually can agree with you is that, like, yeah, I mean, this is universally hated. And what's funny to me is that I sent this to the group chat. I believe it was the coaches one. I gotta find it again real quick. It displayed first of all the average age of the LSU roster. First off, I gotta find it. It's like somewhere up here, somewhere.
That's the field
I,
of 68 thing, isn't it?
uh, maybe it could have been, but the one that I sent in was from exclusive CBB on Instagram. So the average age right now on their roster, as it stands, eligible or not, 23 years old. This is a pro. This is a grown man's roster. This is not a college roster. Absolutely ridiculous. And also, if you go and see what their projected starting lineup is right now, every single player is currently not eligible, and it's the funniest yet the most sad thing I have seen this offseason personally. But I don't know. Maybe there's something worse or funnier for you.
Well, my understanding is the only two players that are currently eligible to play at LSU is Mo Diabate, their transfer from Alabama and then Kentucky. But more hilariously is that it's I can't remember what his name is, but he's been around I think three schools in 3 different years, and um, he's a graduate transfer and one of the worst stat lines I mean, he was a mid-major player, and I can't for the life of me remember what his name is right now. But averaged like 10 points, and was shooting like 30% from the field and 24% from three.
I think
And
you're talking about Austin Nunez. It could be him
yes, yes.
because I remember one of the schools that he transferred, or maybe the like the most recent school that he played at was I think it was UTSA, right?
Yeah, so I knew he was a former top 100 player,
Mm.
and I don't know. He started off at a major school and then did the whole transfer down stuff, and then ended up at a mid major, and now is coming back to LSU. Even though even at the mid major he had awful stats. So
Yep. Okay. Yes.
I
So
mean,
Austin Nunez, I think you're talking about. He started off at Arizona State, went to Ole Miss,
mhm.
went back to Arizona State, then to UTSA, and now he's is apparently signed with LSU. Not just committed, signed. The NCAA. This is your moment. You want to finally be respected at least to some sort of degree, because we're not going to forgive you for for the tournament expansion to 76, because first of all you're copying us and what we're doing. We had it first, and second of all nobody asked for it. The field of 68 was absolutely perfect for the real life setting, and all you're doing is just going to screw the mid majors a whole lot more than how they were already getting screwed. Now, maybe in some circumstances, all right, it is what it is, and I guess we'll have to live with it. But there are some cases like Miami of Ohio should have never had to play into the field of into the field or into the round of 64. Excuse me, they should have never had to do that. And now you're going to force teams like maybe a Belmont. A Belmont for some reason has another year like they had this year where they were really good, but they just I don't know. They dropped the goose egg in their conference tournament, right? And they don't make it in, but instead you're gonna have teams like let me put this into perspective for you, and I'm sure you read up on this and like how the format would have worked if it was for this year. We would have had Cal, Arizona State, Oklahoma, any other of those teams that were on the bubble, Indiana. We would have had those teams being able to play into the round of 64 instead of teams like Belmont and also I'll say this out loud. I know there are some people that are not really for them, but dude, the story that Navy was cooking up this year was awesome. It was awesome. And you're
Yeah,
telling,
I remember
yeah, go ahead.
Navy. I remember specifically because we played them in Chapel Hill, and gave us a run. I mean, at the time, I remember it was November 18th. I remember that was my brother's birthday. So it was way early in the season, and my pessimistic attitude was, Jesus Christ, we just beat Kansas. Now here we go. I mean, is Kansas bad or are we good? And then it was like Navy. It was tied, not tied. It was like a 4 to 6 point game for most of the second half. Then Caleb Wilson, Henry Vessar proved to be a little too much. It ended up being 12, I think. But I was like, that was I thought, and then it comes. I'm like, don't pay attention to Navy, and then next thing I know, it's February and Navy's in the conversation. I was like, okay,
They were cooking.
yeah, and you can't even fault you can't fault Navy because Navy played at Carolina. Navy played a couple. I mean, like you could argue the argument against Miami of Ohio was that they did not play anybody, and they didn't even play anybody that played anybody. They played, and so that was the argument. There's no argument for those teams and they're just unless the hope is 3 or 4 over the next 3 to 5 years is that we'll constantly see some of these mid-major teams. I mean, like maybe Navy will sneak into that at-large 12 seed or something like that, and play in that first 16, and hopefully that would be the only positive that could come out of expansion is that they use this as an opportunity to get a couple more of those at-large mid-major teams in and give them a shot. Tell them you're an at-large mid-major, so we're gonna make you play in this first four. This what do you call it? First 16 now? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact name of the
But
play-in round. All we know is that it's expanded now.
we're gonna do what they did with Miami of Ohio this year with 3 or 4 of those teams and give them a shot, and then that will show if those are the teams that will set the precedent. If they can be competitive, if they can win games, then that will give the credibility to those mid-major schools to get for more shots the further we go into this expansion.
Yeah, all we can do is hope and pray and keep our fingers crossed because because we can't expect it, not from the NCAA and how it operates today. All we can do is hope. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of fed up with talking about the bad stuff, because in combination with the RJ Louis stuff from yesterday, it just, man, CBB right now, NCAA, tighten up. What are y'all doing to the sport I love? What the sport we love? Let's put it that way. But I can tell you, I've got good news for y'all. I've got very good news, and this is about why there was that 2 month like hiatus slash break. And for those that have seen it in the exclusive group chats that we have on Instagram, um, I have started pushing out. How do I say this best? I guess directions to do certain things to get a certain something on on your devices. And oh wow, oh, what could that be? Look at that. Yes, indeed. That is what we have, or what I have, we have worked on, tested for the last 2+ months, and at the very least, I am now ready to open it to the league. Not necessarily yet to the absolute public because there's just so much I have to try and like sort out and make happen, like in terms of policies and all of that. Just make sure I'm not liable for all the little crap that can happen, because it can get really tedious. But yes, indeed, an app has been made. No, it is not like Deli's. I'm so sorry, Deli, you had to catch a stray, but it is what it is. The game is the game. Um, if you want to speak a little bit on what you think of the app and and what it feels like when you're using it, Go right ahead because if I'm not mistaken, you've had early access to it for a good bit.
Well, the first thing I want to say is just how far this process has progressed over the last couple months. I mean, I remember you and I talked about the idea of it was it end of February. It might be a little earlier than that, but you mentioned it's like I'd love to bring an app and put and consolidate everything into this one instead of having to always go to Twitter, X, go to Instagram, etc. So the fact that the fact that in this short amount of time it's progressed as far as it has is phenomenal. I love I love the power analytics stuff. That's I really enjoyed looking at that stuff, and especially how it'll be even better when the season progresses and it gets more data and updates and stuff like that. Um, the AI March Madness stuff is interesting. It's something to play around with the app, especially on a slow day.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen O'Day in the chat throwing around stuff like that, and that's been amusing to look at.
Yeah.
And then and then just being able to go in and finding out the schedules and the rosters and all that stuff is consolidated into one location is fantastic, and I'm excited to see how that I think that's going to make it more appealing for future people to join the league too, which is always the goal.
It is indeed, and although I am limiting it to just within our league circle currently, and it's not just coaches. I will also have this be available to those guys that are players too, even those that are, let's put it this way, those that aren't necessarily like in the league, but like do follow it. I'll let them join in as well. It is definitely a private thing though. You're not just going to be able to find this or be able to get access, as this all goes through me. So uh, most importantly, when it comes to it, fear not. I will make sure that those that are, let's put it this way, sus and are on my blacklist do not get access to this first and foremost. And I think one name in particular pops up when I say that, and I think that's a universal thing at this point in this league. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you see, the dude admitted it himself. He said, "I've been using it a lot." LOL. I listen. I'm still waiting on the official count of like how many times you ran that bracketology sim, O'Day. You got to get me the official number. You got to have some sort of like tracker, man. Listen. I didn't build in anything like that. There's no necessary reason to. You should record the stuff yourself, and you should, dude, Loki, make a post about it. I'm not gonna lie. Free
Yeah.
content, free content. But
And that'll be interesting come tournament time is you can run the AI thing, and that can be its own post, and you can I know when you guys do the bracket predictions and stuff, you can add a AI section and have that compared to what all the other coaches and players do their brackets and see if it holds up its end of the bargain.
it'll be interesting, especially once we get more versions out of the bracketology. When we get to those eventual checkpoints that we usually have,
Mhm.
those aren't going to change, by the way. So it's still going to be uh, so the preseason stuff that's new. I decided to add that in. I thought that was a cool little addition. It's still going to be like the first like true one of the season is going to be after non-conference play, like in the middle of week 8. There's going to be one post January at the end of regular season play, and I don't I don't think I will put one out for after conference tournament week because at that point it doesn't matter. We're at that point looking forward
Yeah.
to selection Sunday. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
ODS, can I announce the app in the high school and coaches group chats? You absolutely can. Just make sure they understand that in order to actually like get the access from me, you can give them the directions, but you gotta let them know they gotta DM me. And so if there are any of them that are like, oh, I can't necessarily DM them off rip, maybe because of some Instagram settings, just let me know and I'll take care of that. So, but yeah, we'll absolutely get this out to everybody so that everybody within the league can get their hands on it. It is a great addition and in the end a 2 months well spent because I think this is now going to make things a whole lot easier for everybody. Like you said, everything should be now in one location. You shouldn't have to ask me anymore for stats or schedules or anything like that. It should all now be there. So, um, and yeah, with that said, I've told people when exactly the season's going to be starting. I'm not going to reveal it in public specifically. All I'm going to say is soon. That's all. Whatever you want to interpret it as, that's all up to you. I will let your imagination run free and wild. That's all I can say about that. But I think we can now officially segue into our first topic of today, and I did this with Pugsley yesterday. It was fun. We got to play the role. We got to how do I say it? We got to play and also swap roles of salesman and customer basically, or the one that you're selling the vision to. We're gonna build our own top 25, and maybe some things have changed in my mind because when it comes to the preseason top 25, it's just like this is the most uncertain time that anyone can be about where teams are at, and opinions can shift by the hour. I mean, I might even be like underestimating that. It could be by the minute. So I'm going to employ this exercise throughout all of our preseason episodes that we do have, and so all of our outcomes I think are going to be different. And at the very least, I know that you and Pugsley have different criteria, so I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you have, especially with how you have put together. How do I say it? Your order of teams, or at the very least, who you think should be where, who's above what. Well, this should be a fun exercise, and most importantly, when it comes to this, just to play it safe and not to trip ourselves up, we're gonna start from one and work our way down to the 25th spot, because I think it would just be weird otherwise if you try and work from the bottom up. So I think that's where
Yeah.
we're at. Anything else you'd like to say before we start?
I'm ready.
I'm ready as well. All right, starting at number one, I let Pugsley make his pitch first for the number one spot, and I will let you do the same. I am all ears. But if you want me to at least list any teams that you want to like, how do I say it, get a gauge on in terms of where of like who is deserving of consideration of the number one spot, I certainly can, and you can maybe even throw in another name or two if you think they're not the only ones that are deserving. What do you want?
Well, I definitely think there are tiers to the top 25 as there are tiers to everything. And when putting together my own top 25, there were three teams in the top tier. Um, I kind of thought they were interchangeable, but I ended up with Creighton as number one. So that's what I would have as my preseason number one.
Okay, okay, and I'm gonna lock that in for us because I also have him as number one. But just to make it, I guess, clear to everyone who I personally believe is like, okay, you could put them at number one and not have anyone like be not okay with it. There to me there are only three teams, and if there is more or maybe one less, let me know. So we went with Creighton. My other two choices would have been either Marquette or Michigan.
Yes. Yeah, those are my three as well.
All right. Who would you have at number two?
I had Michigan.
Okay. Okay. I'm okay with
Again,
that.
I thought in the three of the tiers, Creighton separated themselves from Michigan and Marquette. Marquette was a little bit more interchangeable at 2 or 3 than either one of them jumping up to 1. But any of the 3 would have been were the only ones I considered at number 1.
Sure. No, and to me it's kind of the same, but I could also see a case for every single one of those three being one. You could say that with you could judge it based on what Marquette has done historically over the last like few seasons, and just based on returning production. You could go with Creighton just based off returning production and the fact that they made a Final Four. And you could even go with Michigan. Like, they made back-to-back national championship games. Yes, they didn't finish the job, but who else has done that? Like I understand that's first and primary loser, but no one else can say that they've gotten that close, consistently. So there's a case to be made for every single one of them. But in this case, we are officially locking in at 1 Creighton, 2 Michigan, 3 Marquette. All right.
I agree.
All right. This next tier, I don't really know how to classify. This is more of like they maybe could have gotten consideration for the top spot if if those 3 teams didn't have as much strength as they did. And I will list them off, and if you have any other names, or if you would take any of those names away, just let me know. And I'm going to go as far. To me, I told this to Pugsley. I'm going to say this to you as well, because this I still think is the same as yesterday or as before. To me, there are 6 other teams that maybe could have gotten that kind of consideration. And in terms of what is already, to me, these are like the next 6 teams that you could tell me if you think they make the Final Four. I would not argue it. I would not argue it. I would in fact say, yeah, they might even have a better chance in some cases than those top 3 teams, depending on how seeding goes. So, I'll list them off for you, and you just let me know. I've got Oklahoma State, Kansas, Notre Dame, Providence, Kansas State, Duke. Would you add anyone or even take anyone off that group?
So I had 7 in my tier.
Okay.
So I had all 6 that you had, and then I added Xavier to that tier. Admittedly, they were the last. They were the 10th overall team, so they were the last one in this tier. Just to give them the national champion consideration, if you will, the champions bump.
Sure.
So I had them at the bottom of tier 2.
Okay.
So with the other 6 that you had.
I can absolutely see that, and I can respect it, because you have to give a little bit of credence to those that have won the national championship. It's not necessarily the best place sometimes, but just I think out of respect. And it's not necessarily just that. I think Xavier still is a good team, but I feel much better about the other teams that I listed. But how would we go about this? Like,
so I had Xavier at 10 either way.
Okay.
I bumped them up a tier. So
okay.
Just to separate the tiers.
I'm okay with actually locking in Xavier at 10. Sorry to cut you off. I'll actually do that just to kind of set that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I had Oklahoma State as the top of the tier just because of the veteran presence that they bring back. And I know this will shock a lot of people. And it might amuse you, but I do like veteran talent, and so I do think that puts the teams over the top, and those are the ones that get to the Final Four, and I think Oklahoma State has that veteran talent with skill as well.
Yes, they certainly do. The amount of production that they returned from last year is actually absurd, and that's even with Swish-ish not returning. I think he was their leading points per game guy, but even then, just the names on there that have returned. Man, this is a team that I've said this before, I'll say it again. They have 100% the capability of finally making things happen the way that Bowser has envisioned it and has built to. I think this is finally the time. So I agree with you putting OK State at 4. Who's number 5 for you?
So they weren't 5 in my first coaches poll,
Okay.
but I believe this was the coaches poll was before those preseason games,
Hmm.
and um, I know they don't count, but for the preseason poll, you use preseason games where you can. So I have Duke. I was really impressed with. I had Duke in this tier, but closer to I think 8 or 9. I can't remember which one. But I moved Duke up 2 or 3 spots just because I was really impressed with how they handled Creighton, and even if they didn't win, I thought they played up closer to that again, played up to that tier closer than I expected them to, and then even Creighton missing Cotton for some of that time, Duke still took advantage of that. You still had to be able to take advantage of that. Creighton's, in my opinion, the deepest team in the league in college basketball. That's why I think they're number one. So even without Cotton for that period of time, I still think they're a top 2 or 3 team. So I mean Duke's front court is elite, and I think that can carry them deep into March.
Okay. You have done a pretty good job selling me on Duke. I'm just now looking to see who I have in front of them because I actually named those teams to you in like the order that I actually have them in like my set of rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And you sold me. I'm putting Duke higher than that last spot that I have in terms of that tier that I talked about. So I'm willing to move them. I just don't know about fifth because I just need to look at it, right? I'm looking at teams like Kansas, ACC rival Notre Dame, Providence, and K State. Duke's front court, like you said, I have no argument about Duke's front court. It is nasty. It is filthy. Um,
The backcourt does concern me a little bit, just a little bit.
what will Deuce Bridges be like in ACC play is my big question. And then a guy like DJ Graham was only serviceable as a starter at an Ohio State team that had to play their way into the round of 64 last year. Only serviceable. He wasn't a standout, just serviceable. I have questions about that too, and that's kind of why I didn't like Duke as much, even though the front court's really good. To me, I also value the backcourt a lot because if the backcourt can't get it going, what will the front court be able to do? Unless you just start running everything through the front court. You just make somebody a point forward or something. But in Vanilla's
Front courts,
system, God,
I think front courts make you. Uh, Front courts are more important for the regular season, and it's the backcourt that puts you over the top in March.
I do.
I think having a better front court is more important for the 30 game regular season. I think if you have that good backcourt, that's what puts you over the top in March, if that makes sense.
And we're doing this based on what we think will happen during the regular season, probably more so than later in March. So I'm I'm feeling the vision here. I'm seeing it. You know what?
This is a very IRL Duke build up.
This is.
I mean, that front court is, I mean, you top 5 players. I mean, top lottery picks galore. Will those guards be able to match that in the match that, and that'll be whether Duke is a I could do if they can't if the guards cannot step up, Duke is a prime 1 or 2 seed that goes out in the round of 32 or Sweet 16. But I do think even if they don't step up, I still think they're a 1 or 2 seed in the regular season based off conference and schedule and that front court being as elite as it is.
It's funny. I have them projected in like throughout my rankings as like the best 3 seed, but I guess if I had to redo the poll today, they yeah they would get a bump from me. I don't know if personally I would have had them at 5, but honestly, just based on everything said, I'm I'm actually gonna, you know what? We'll lock in Duke at 5. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. This is a fun one here. Let's do Duke at 5. And you know what? Just by beating Creighton in preseason, and this is indeed a preseason poll. Sure, let's roll with it. Let's roll with it. All right. Who's your 6th then in that case?
Notre Dame.
Okay.
And I have Notre Dame at 6 because I I'm a big fan of the fact that he was able to bring back 4 starters from last year, so they have that continuity together.
I
And I think it was 3 starters, but 4 of the 5 starters are from Notre Dame last year. I think.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the one
So
non Notre Dame player from last year started at Rutgers. So,
yeah, exactly. So again, going back to the Oklahoma State side, I like the veteran presence that they have, and I think Notre Dame could even be higher than this if a couple of those returning starters take the next step. Um, and I'll get to 1 or 2 of them later, but um, I think Notre Dame has the talent to be higher than 6. Just will they elevate their perform? Will the guys that need to step up actually step up? They're in this tier, but I think they could be a tier higher.
potentially. Potentially. And I think they have the composition to do it. It's just like you said, their projected like top players are going to need to take a step up from what they did last season. And I think they will. I think just for now, what separates Duke from them in terms of being a spot above, like you said, is that even though it's a fresh new team, majority of those top guys performed at a high level from at where they were before. So
Mm-hmm.
and again, fit can become a little weird for these teams, and maybe things just don't mesh well. But it's hard to look at some of these guys and what they did and be like, well, how can I see them not fitting? Because it's just like these guys scored a bunch. They did a whole lot on the court for their teams. Maybe they don't maybe they don't score at as high of a clip, but at the very least, you know you're gonna get production, and production on a team level, not necessarily on a personal level. So, and there's a difference between that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so okay, I'm gonna lock in Notre Dame at 6 then. All right, who's your number 7? Or more so,
Providence.
how would you sort the those last 3 teams, which are Kansas, Providence, and
Um,
K State?
I think I would go Kansas State at 7.
Ooh,
Um,
ooh.
I like Kansas. To me, these are the 3 that I had the biggest struggle with, just because Kansas on paper is probably the most talented of the 3. But like you said, like you just finished saying, how will they fit? Defensively more so than offensively. Um, I know you guys talked about that last night with the front court. How will that work well? How will they? No doubt that they can. It can be offensively good, but how will it go defensively? And that's my apprehension of Kansas a little bit. Is that I think they might struggle defensively just a little bit. And they have the offense to match anybody toe for toe, but if they have a bad shooting night, then I don't know if they can defensively stop somebody, hold them to a 70 points.
Yeah, I also kind of see it the same way with Kansas. I gave him personally the respect, and I personally had him fifth in my poll. Granted, if I shifted things around, maybe they would have dropped a spot or two, but at least in my latest iteration of it, yeah, I had him five, and it's because I respect the firepower that they have. I also respect the experience that they bring back. Like you said, though, to me, the lack of defensive confidence comes also from their lack of, I would say, game-changing height. And I know that's so niche, but let me put this into perspective for you. I told this to Pugsley when we were on air yesterday, but this is a true thing. Did you know that that all of the teams that were in Vegas last year for the Final Four, in terms of their 4 and 5 spots, power forward and center, both starters were 7 foot or taller?
Mm-hmm. They doubled up, and in that I mean, Jacob Johnson's 6'9".
Yeah,
So and then
he's not small. He's not small. Don't get me wrong.
no, but so that yeah, I mean, in that moment, I think against some of these other teams that they're being compared to, if they might, it might behoove them to switch up the starting lineup a little bit, just to take a little bit more advantage. But that I still think Kansas has the talent to win a national championship. I firmly believe that. I'm defense wins championships, and I believe that wholeheartedly, and that's where my you say they have experience, and I agree they have experience, but their experience also is poor defensive experience as well. That's where I think, and I mean I have Kansas one spot lower, so I still think they're really good. I'd put Kansas State over Kansas just because I think if it's not a shootout, I think if there are 4 or 5 ways a game can go, and Kansas may only be able to win 1 or 2 styles, and that's kind of where
Sure.
that's
No.
kind of where I put Kansas State above.
Okay. I can understand that. I only have one question. Why Providence the lowest amongst those three? That's all I want to understand.
Because that I still think it was a slight Big 12 over Big East not bump. I think the Big 12 as a whole is just a slightly deeper conference. So I think when it comes down to it, a 27-3 Kansas, because the top 25 predicting the regular season. If Providence and Kansas State and Kansas are all 27-3, I think the Kansas and Kansas State resumes will look just a little bit more well-rounded. And that's, I mean, because I was splitting hairs, so that I was kind of trying to find something, because I don't know if I can see a Providence beating a Creighton or Marquette. So then it comes down to how well do they look against the other teams, and I had more. That's kind of where I fell with.
Okay, I can understand that.
I mean, I really was splitting hairs between the three, so that's kind of where I was. That's kind of the fallback I found.
Can I try to sell you on Providence maybe being a spot above or maybe even being potentially above both? Actually no, not above both. Let's go just in the middle. Can I try and sell you there?
Absolutely,
We
because
talked
you've
about
probably found a.
yeah. No, I have and I'll tell you. We talked about how important overall experience is, especially in the backcourt. Granted, front courts are good for regular seasons, and the backcourts are very pivotal in March. I just also believe that with how Providence's backcourt is in terms of how productive they are is also is also something that makes me really like them in addition to the combination that they have with their front court. I think I told this to Pugsley yesterday. DeAnthony
Mhm,
Robinson and Eddie Ederson Jr. combined last year accounted for an average of 37 points per game for the Friars combined.
mhm.
And they now bring in 7'6" Trippy Finn from Florida. That's their new center. Peter Morrison, who I thought was one of the best six men in the entire country last year, is now a starter. The only question mark I have is Jamal Enamorado, but I think that's a guy that I think just simply put stays in his lane, plays his role, and they will be
Mhm.
just fine. And that's why I really like Providence, and that's why I'm like, I just don't see them being ninth, but I guess for this case, I'd be okay with
I
it. I
mean,
just wanted to see if that could maybe move the needle for your opinion on them.
then Providence over Kansas was something I considered just because of the size and the experience. Because I felt like Kansas and Providence sort of matched in terms of experience. I thought Providence had a little bit more experience in the backcourt in terms of playing time because Axel Council has not had a lot of playing time compared to DeAnthony Robinson. And then, of course, the size that Providence has down low. Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with putting Providence above Kansas, not maybe not Kansas State though.
Okay, okay, I can live with that. All right, and I feel like Kansas State and Providence in a way are built similar. I would have loved to put Providence above both, but I can definitely see the argument for K State, especially if you factor in what what the best version of K State looks like under Pugsley, and we have seen it. We have seen a Final Four run. I don't think Providence has made it out of the round of 32 yet under Chunky. I don't think so. We're waiting on that. And so maybe just because of that, I can give this one. I can give this one here. And it's weird we say that because it's like, oh, if we really want to go technical here, Kansas obliterated Providence last year, but those are two different teams at that point.
Yeah,
They're not.
absolutely.
You cannot compare last year's iterations to now this year's iterations. In fact, I feel if anything, here's what happened. Kansas, how they're built. Providence, how they're built. Swap,
It's, yeah,
swap, legit swap. So
yeah.
so you can't really look at it that way. So we'll see. But I'm absolutely okay with this. So let's confirm our top 10 real quick. Creighton at 1, Michigan 2, Marquette 3, OK State 4, Duke 5, Notre Dame 6, K-State 7, Providence 8, Kansas 9, and the X-Men at 10. Sound good?
Yes.
All right. Now this is where things get fun because you could really get flexible here with these teams. These are more like the teams that are like you can see the vision for a Final Four. Does it happen? It'd need a lot to go their way, but
Yeah.
there is a vision for it. So I'm gonna list off. Let's go. Let's do this. We're gonna keep things in terms of like a fixed number, and I like to go to 16 just because it fits with Sweet 16, I guess. Maybe that's unfair.
Hmm.
Maybe we add another name. We'll see. But here's who I at least want to throw in there as like these next teams that we sort out. Wisconsin, Iowa, Auburn, Michigan State, Houston, Oregon. Do you have anyone else that you want to add or even take away from this?
No, no, those were the next six in my order.
Okay,
Um,
okay, okay. Let's go. Let's do 11 through 13. Who did you have there for those spots?
Michigan State at 11, Wisconsin 12, Auburn 13.
Okay, okay. Let me see here. So in my
I had
personal
Michigan
poll,
State at 11 just because of a little more trust in the coach. I know what the vision looks like. So I know when it goes right for him, I know what it looks like. So that's kind of where I put that little bump. But I think Michigan State and Wisconsin are a little bit, and then I went Auburn, and then the next three teams I kind of separated them.
okay, okay, sure. And I'm just looking at it based on how I know what these teams are composed of and just their experience here. So you had MSU 11, Wisconsin 12, Auburn 13. Is that what it was?
Yes.
You know what? I can roll with that. I can roll with that. I don't have much argument here. I personally would put Wisconsin ahead by that spot. I'd swap them.
You would have
Person,
Michigan. Would you? You would be okay with Wisconsin 11, Michigan State 12, and then Auburn 13?
I would, but for this, I'm okay with putting Michigan State at 11. We can do a
Yeah.
little switch
Okay.
up. I'm okay with that. Absolutely. Personally, I'd swap those two, but I man, 11 and 12 where it's
Yeah.
slim picking. No, it's not slim pickings. It's more of like it's a fine margin, and honestly, it could go either way.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that, just as long as Wisconsin's top 12 because I think they are indeed a top 12 team. I can agree on all three.
Agree.
I have no argument. 14, 15, 16. So then that leaves us with Iowa, Houston, and Oregon. How did you sort those three?
In that order:
I
Iowa, then
Iowa, Houston,
Houston,
Oregon.
Oregon.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. In a way, I also actually had that order for mine. I'm just thinking if I had a change of heart for any of them by chance, because I'm looking at primarily Houston and Oregon. Maybe out of respect, I keep Iowa above both, and I can certainly do that because I do like who their leaders are. So okay, I'll lock in
Hmm.
Iowa. I have no problem with Iowa at 14. Houston, Oregon. Um, Pugsley and I actually had Oregon above Houston. I'm just trying to see if I still feel the same way because yesterday my argument was this is that Houston at the big man spot at the 5 I'm not a fan of in terms of their national presence. He is good for
Hmm.
the American Conference. He is going to do well. Nationally, I worry. Versus
Hmm.
Oregon, they got a 7'5" demon from France.
Still DeWemby Mayo?
He's finally a starter again.
Okay. I mean, I
And
could be talked into Oregon over Houston. I mean, easily. So if you want to switch it, I'm down to switch it too.
I'm thinking real quick if I want to do that or we just keep it for the sake of being a little different, which we could do. But I'm also just thinking, even though the big man spot I just don't like for Houston, I do, however, really, really like their backcourt experience that they were able to return due to the
Hmm.
due to the rules and guidelines that we have recently formed for the LBA draft and stuff like that. Um, and we're basically talking about Houston returning to pros. Let's just put it that way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oregon, I need to remind myself. I think it's Gerhard announced Kevin Robinson Jr. Yeah, it's those two. Robinson Jr. is finally gonna be a starter. Travis Gerhard has been a starter. Yeah, he was okay, but man, that team was so loaded. They were very they were really front court reliant during the Frank's tenure.
Hmm.
Frazier, I think it's gonna be more balanced. To me, it's gonna be more balanced, and I think they're gonna be a bit more up tempo as well. So I think it's just gonna be a completely different looking team on the court itself. So I'm
Hmm.
thinking about that, and I'm thinking about the kind of switches that Houston has made as well. And based on that, I think I'm gonna stick with what I did before, and I think I'm gonna have Oregon over Houston. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Oregon 15, Houston 16. All right. Here's how we can do this. Let's go incrementally. So let's try and break these up and we can just shift teams however we see fit.
Hmm.
Let's go 17, 18, 19, 20. I'll introduce to you either the teams that I have in those spots or another extra couple names that could absolutely be put there with no problem at all. All right. Gonzaga, LSU, Indiana, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Villanova, and I'll throw in Louisville as well. How are we sorting this one?
So, yeah, I mean, that's most of what I have left outside of 24 and 25. I mean, I would probably give the slight edge to the three teams I had at the top were Villanova, West Virginia, and Louisville in that order. I'm a little lower on Gonzaga. Um, I could be talked into Gonzaga. I'm just a little. I mean, the lack of off season presence kind of has me a little down on Gonzaga. Um, and that's kind of where I stood with them.
You're not wrong to take it that way at all. I personally had them at 17, but that's more so out of respect for what Mediger as a coach has done throughout his time in Gonzaga, which let me tell you, it's like 95% better than majority of coaches in our entire history. He hasn't won a chip,
Hmm.
but he has made several Final Fours. Very few can say that. Very, very few.
Yeah.
So it's like out of
Hmm.
respect, and I also do really like some of the guys that they have. However, I have no problem bumping them down
They're
because
really going to miss Jacob Huntington.
that's a big one. But also, they didn't really do much to make up for the amount of height that they lost, especially down low. You can go and yeah, I'm sure you can go and check out what their front court is looking like, and it's like, well, think when thinking about them being in the WCC and BYU really being the only competitive rival there, you would think, oh, they would probably be in this position just because their record would be inflated, and that's just how it usually goes. But in
Hmm.
this exercise, I'm absolutely okay bumping them down because if you're talking about a national presence, I think they get exposed.
Yeah, and I agree. I think by the time the regular season ends, they'll be. I think just because of lack of conference competition, they could be right back to where record wise, similar to years past. I just don't think it's gonna. I think years past a 29-1 Gonzaga is a top one or two seed. I think this year 28-2, 29-1 Gonzaga is not gonna have enough. Um, it's then it's not going to feel the same. And I guess just going off vibes.
Sure, yeah, no, vibes matter, and I
Mhm.
think those vibes will be, how do I say it, multiplied when you hear that they, I don't think that they suffer at most two losses. I think it goes beyond that because hear this. This is who they have to play out of conference. Michigan State.
Mhm.
They host them though. At Xavier. Host Ohio State. At Kansas State. Listen, I know it's only those teams, But I already see 2 losses there.
It could easily be 1-3.
Yes, it could. Yes, it could.
So, and if they end up going 1-3, that'll that'll cripple their seeding, especially no matter what they do in the West Coast Conference, just because there's that narrative going in.
Exactly. It's one of those things where you get to see how we've been able to build our poll so far, and you notice, oh crap, they have already 3 teams on their schedule that we've already put above them. That doesn't
And are a
mean a
lot
whole
taller
lot.
than them.
Yes, they are. The only team that I see from here that they could possibly match even slightly is just I'm gonna take a look real quick. I would personally say Michigan State just because of Amani Lyles at power forward. He's only like 6'8", 6'9", something like that.
Mhm.
But then you look at the Hawaii grad transfer that came in more second. He's like 7'1". And Devin, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
I love Devin Robertson as a player. He did great things at Tulane. He's only 6'10" though.
6'10". Yeah,
I don't like it. I don't like it. So I have
you
no
can match a
problem.
6'8". You can. I go by averages more than anything. You can match a 6'8" if you have a 7'1", 7'2". A lot, but then if you have a 6'8" and a 6'10", then that's a big issue, especially out of conference. Because I mean, in conference, I don't think it'll matter much, but
Sure.
when but if they go 1-3, could even go 0-4. I mean, I think Ohio State takes a leap this year. So I mean, and Gonzaga could be their statement win. So I don't think it's out of the cards that Gonzaga loses all 4 games. I mean, it's maybe not likely, but I think it's closer to. I think they're closer to going 0-4 than they are going like 3-1 or 2-2.
It's tough to hear for Gonzaga fans, but I do agree with that sentiment. So yeah, that just comes down to Gonzaga maybe dropping like a stone here for us as we go along. But um, I guess just to reiterate then, who's going ahead of them as we start this process of dropping them?
I had West Virginia at 17.
I can see the case for West Virginia at 17. I'm not even gonna try and argue that. I'll lock them in. 18.
I had Villanova just because,
This one's interesting.
again, it's a little bit. There's a little bit of continuity coming back, and I'm a sucker for that. I like it when you can bring back your a big group of your team back, and they don't all hit the port. And I trust Coach Cotton. I think Coach Cotton is. I think he's a premier coach in college basketball. So this is me putting my faith in Coach Cotton and Villanova to take another leap.
I was skeptical at first, but then remembering who their coach is, yeah, yeah, I can see it, and they absolutely have the potential to grow and get better. It's not like, oh, this is who they are, this is what they'll be. It's more of like this is where we see them right now, and they could be a whole lot higher later on. I think just for that
Mm-hmm.
reason, I'm absolutely okay with putting them at 18, 19. Who do you have?
Louisville.
Louisville. Okay.
And
Good.
I think I like their front court. I think Louisville can be a really good regular season team, and I think they may not want to hear this, but I think Louisville can be the polar opposite of last year, where they are such a good regular season team. I mean, they could. I have them ranked 19, but I think they could easily play up into the top 15, top 10, maybe, and then so I think the front court will carry them in the regular season. I'm a little bit worried about, a little bit apprehensive, if you will, about not as much point guard, but maybe the rest of the starting lineup and a little bit of the bench. So they, I just think they're the opposite of last year. I think they're going to be a really good regular season team, and I'm a little bit more concerned about them come March. But I think for regular season purposes, I think they're a top 20 team.
I feel the same way now that I think about it. Yeah, their front court is boy, they're big.
Mm-hmm.
Backcourt
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
backcourt concerns me as well, like you said. It does.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? I can agree on that. I'm cool with Louisville at 19. Who's the 20 then for you?
I'm okay putting Gonzaga at 20 just for the Guns. This is where I had Gonzaga. Even early, I think I might have talked myself lower on Gonzaga than even 20, but I had originally Gonzaga at 20. So
If you're okay with that, I'd like to lock him in here just out of respect for Mediger at this point.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Cool. So that leaves us with 5 spots, but in terms of our like grouping here, we still have LSU, Indiana, and Oklahoma. How did you sort those 3 out?
So I had LSU next,
Okay,
and then I the next team I have the next team at 22, right,
it would be 22, yeah.
is not Indiana or Oklahoma.
Ooh, we're introducing a new name. All right, I'm open. I'm open to it. Who you got?
Florida State.
I like the shout. I like the shout.
I love their starting five. Little concerned about the bench. Love the starting five though.
For context, I think their best player this upcoming season is a guy that really never got to showcase his like his full abilities just because he was always the sixth man. Bonzi Opshaw the third. I'm sure you know that name kind of well.
Mm-hmm.
Their starting five is really really good. But also I personally I'll say this. Main reason I am not I didn't put Florida State in my top 25 initially is because I don't know who the coach is. If it was
Mm-hmm.
if this was Tyler Knight, if this was Florida State legend Tyler Knight, for those that know him, you know him, he's awesome. Um this I would have pushed for Florida State as like a top 16 team at the very least. I just don't know who their coach is, but their team and their starting five, like you said, and I also really like Hanji Tamba as that sixth man, like their primary
Mm-hmm.
big off the bench. I really like him. I also really like Matthias Maxwell's scoring ability. I'm not sure about the rest of his game, but a spark plug off the bench like him, I really like as well. Yeah, you know what? For this, let's get a little crazy. I'm absolutely down to put Florida State 22. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. We have 3 spots left, and we still need to find spots for Indiana or Oklahoma unless you have more replacements here or more teams to swap in.
So I do have Indiana and Oklahoma in, but they're not the but in Indiana's next.
Yeah, 23.
Oklahoma's I have yeah, and I have Oklahoma 25.
OU 25. I'm not going to lock that one in yet because I do want to hear you out
Yeah,
here at the very least and see if I have a counter.
I think Texas takes the next step.
The Longhorns. Ooh, I like that shout because of what they could be later.
I
If
exactly. I do. I think maybe they're not a top 25 team to start the season, but I really think they're a top 20 team to end the season. So I'm kind of putting them in the middle. I think they're top 30 now, top 20 by the end of the season. So I think I'm putting them in that 24 range.
what's I understand that and I like the shout. All I have is one question. Why Oklahoma behind them still?
Just because I think Texas has a little bit of a higher ceiling. Oklahoma has the much higher floor. I mean, I bet if everything goes wrong for both teams, I think Oklahoma is still miles ahead of Texas. But I think if everything goes right, I think Texas has the highest ceiling.
Four of their five
That was my.
starters, yeah, four out of their five starters are underclassmen.
Hmm.
That's really really good for them.
Hmm.
Oklahoma, they only have one non-senior as their starter. It's a little bit of an interesting switch up because we focused on the experience side, but also
Mm.
in a way I can better
I,
understand the
I think that
optimism. Say, go ahead.
I think there's the one surprise team that is a little off the radar that will be a top that will be more competitive than any, and I think Texas is that. I think they the the freshmen have grown into sophomores. But everybody is still underrating them a little bit just because they're underclassmen. I still think Texas. Think Texas takes that big leap, and I really like. I'm a big fan of the continuity aspect of returning. And yeah, that's kind of going back to it. I think Texas has a little bit of a higher ceiling, and that's where I fell with them. But I think the Texas and Oklahoma and then Indiana at 23 are the three that I had at the end. I could interchange Oklahoma and Texas. I knew I wanted to find a place for Texas in the top 25
Valid,
just
totally valid.
because I value what they can be.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna lock it in as well. So, all right, here's our official complete top 25, our combined one, and uh, and I am happy to say that it is pretty different from the one I did with Pugsley. So I'm kind of happy about that in a way. So I'll just actually, you know what? We'll go from bottom up this time as we review it. So at 25 Oklahoma, 24 Texas, 23 Indiana, 22 Florida State, 21 LSU, 20 Gonzaga, 19 Louisville, 18 Villanova, 17 West Virginia, 16 Houston, 15 Oregon, 14 Iowa, 13 Auburn, 12 Wisconsin, 11 Michigan State, 10 Xavier, 9 Kansas, 8 Providence, 7 Kansas State, 6 Notre Dame, 5 Duke, 4 Oklahoma State, 3 Marquette, 2 Michigan, 1 Creighton. I think this is a sound top 25 given that this is the preseason stage and anything can happen, but I also really like the how do I say it? It's not foresight, but it's more of like the bigger picture later on and what could be. It's very interesting, and I can definitely see that playing out. So I like it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm excited about that top 25. I think it'll compare a lot more by the end of the season as necessarily as it is. I think it may look a little off, 2 months into the season. I think, but I do think the closer we get to March, the better it'll look. Because a lot of these teams, I think, have a higher ceiling that it just may take a little while to achieve.
Sure, of course. I yeah, I sit at the same position and thought process as you do. So, yeah, I can
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Okay, so our top 25 is locked in, but now we get into the real how do I say it? Ball knowledge part of this podcast episode where we get to talk about the ACC. And when I had the episode with Pugsley yesterday, I told him during the episode that I believe the ACC is just better overall, and it's not necessarily because of the top, more so because of the middle. Do you share that same sentiment?
I agree. I think the ACC has fewer teams that I think could win a national championship, but I think they have more teams that could compete for an ACC championship.
Yes.
That's kind of the thought process I have.
Of course, and we're actually that's actually a great way to transition to our first topic in the ACC. We're going to try and make the case for each team that at least deserves the moment to have that consideration and to see if we think they can win either the ACC title or even national title and making the case for it. For example, it's like let me give you like it's like I ask you, Clemson can wins the ACC or national title if what, and it's like, and we kind of bounce off each other and just see, or we can do rapid fire. You say like, okay, do you see the belief in at all? It's like if what? Oh, if nothing, I just don't see it at all. Or you give me the spiel and then I'll tell you what I think. So. We will start off with Clemson because Boston College, unfortunately, just is not competitive. We're just gonna I'm sorry, Boston College. Y'all just got to do better. Fundraisers, do something. I don't know what to tell y'all. Clemson. We'll start with them because we'll go alphabetically. Um, the Tigers. They win the ACC title or even national title if what?
If a couple, so I think Clemson could play their way. They could be a surprise top 4 or 5 seed in the conference tournament. I think that may be their peak. So I guess if Clemson were to win the ACC championship, then they ran into a Duke or a Notre Dame missing a starter or two.
Injuries.
I think I think you could argue a couple of teams that they could beat outright. Mm, I still think they're worse than those teams. I don't think they beat Notre Dame or Duke unless a little divine intervention comes in.
I totally feel that. For me, my answer is just much simpler. Clemson, I see no national championship potential here. ACC title potential, I do see. If it does happen, it's because their guard play is much better than expected. Looking at guys like Jeremy Rhodes, Whistler Sandin II, and Jacoby Gillespie. If those guys outperform what they're projected to be, then they somehow do it despite their extreme lack of size on the block.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
all right, this next one's a fun one because we have given them a lot of good consideration and hype. Duke clearly, I there is no debate. They have the ability to win a national title and the ability to win the ACC. They do both or one of those if what?
The guard play steps up. And
That's
that's more national championship than ACC. I think if they get Kyan Evans level guard play out of their guards, then they could still win the ACC. I think that, but if they can get decent, if they can, I just think above average guard play is they have the front court to win a national championship. But I am worried if Deuce Bridges and DJ Graham translate over to the ACC or in and against the top 5 or 10 teams that they'd have to play in the Elite Eight and the Final Four.
My answer is the same as yours. Guard play has got to be much better than it is advertised to be. I think Deuce Bridges will be I think he will be okay. I don't think he's going to be this megastar, but I think he will hold his own. DJ Graham,
Mm-hmm.
I said it before about him. He was only serviceable at Ohio State. He is now there. It's going to be clear as day. He is the fifth option as a starter. If he holds his own and at the very least is playable, then ACC title for sure, but they're going to need more out of those
I'll
two
also
for a
say
national
something
title.
else about Duke.
Go ahead.
I'm a little apprehensive about their bench.
Their
Just
bench
I
is interesting.
I just there are a couple. If somebody gets injured, I if more or less if a guard or a power forward or center gets injured, I mean, I think the small forward, power forward could be if they lose Reeves, if they lose one of the guards, that's where that could completely derail any aspirations they have too. So that's and that's if they stay healthy. I don't think it matters, but if they lose a starter for an extended period of time, I think that could hinder hinder them as well. Just because I don't think they have that next man up.
If I'm a Duke fan, I pray to the gods that the front court stays healthy. It is especially Steve Reeves. I think the
Mm-hmm.
entertain is a little bit of a different scenario because you could move Jacob Huntington down to the four seamlessly. Steve Reeves is the
Mm-hmm.
one I am the most worried about because I do not like a team who is starting Daniel Beck. I do not. I'm sorry. I just do not. I can respect him as a
Mm-hmm.
bench player. He does well off the bench. As a starter,
Mm-hmm.
you pray. Um, but yeah, we share the same sentiment on Duke. Okay, the interesting one here, the newly ranked Florida State Seminoles. Maybe national championship potential in a shot in the dark probably. 100% inability to win the ACC title. We have seen them do it as severe underdogs. What needs to happen?
If they go to the Iron Five, like Hubert Davis did in 22, play every starter 38 minutes a night. Um, then you have the 6 man that could just the six that 6 man plays 10 minutes and he just changes out whoever goes out. But if they consolidate the lineup, because I think this my worry is Florida State could build up a lead, and then if they when they eventually go to their bench, I think that it could come, especially against Duke and Notre Dame, completely erase and Louisville and completely erase that lead. So bench, if they get above even average bench play, just don't completely plummet when your bench is on the court, and I think they can win. And I think they could win the ACC easily. And then national. I think they could. I think I would not be surprised if they made a sneaky Final Four run or an Elite Eight run. I don't know if they can beat Michigan or Marquette or um, Creighton straight up. So they may need a little help there. But I definitely could see 5 seed Florida State making a run or something like that.
Technically speaking, if we went off of
6 seed.
our rankings, yeah, I was gonna say yeah, they would be a sixth seed. It's
Yeah.
not impossible.
Which would probably be which would probably be an easier path because then they'd go through the 3 and then the 2 seed instead of having to play to a 1. I mean, I really could see them making the Elite Eight and then running into the 1 seed and then losing there, whoever they might be.
It would be it's very reminiscent of what actually happened before. If you remember the 2032 tournament, they were a 7 seed and made a run all the way to the Elite Eight, only to end up losing to 1 seed Duke.
Yeah.
Little deja vu there as you were talking about it, honestly. So maybe it does. Maybe it does happen. Maybe the stars align once again and history repeats. Possibly. Yeah, my sentiment is the same as yours. Limited bench play, but I would at least be willing to let Hanji Tamba and Matthias Maxwell get extended run if they are doing what they are expected to do in their limited opportunities. So that's my case on that. Um, Next one is Louisville. Georgia Tech is a non-factor. I am so sorry, Yellow Jackets, but the truth is the truth. But Louisville, this is a now consensus top three team in the ACC. Could very well find themselves in that national title conversation. They could via regular season, like we talked about, and very much so threats for the ACC crown. What needs to happen for them to do one or the other, or even both?
They need decent guard play and for the front court to be as advertised. Because I mean I think Guruazuna needs to take the next step. Then the transfer from Marquette, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. If you saw potential at Marquette, just not enough playing time. If he can be as good as the limited minutes show, I think Louisville's front court has a whole lot of potential, but the ceiling is high, but they have a low floor too. So I think the guard play just has to be decent as long as the front court is as good as advertised. If the front court is a little underwhelming, then you have to hope the guard play steps up, and that's where I start getting nervous about Louisville's prospects.
My answer is very simple here, and I do agree with a lot of what you're saying. But this is kind of a comical answer just based on what we know and what the inner circles know. It's kind of lore here in LSL. And just because of the last name. If Louisville is to achieve big things, J Love Richter has got to stay away from the alcohol. I had to throw that in, man. And I say that because I really like the size that Louisville has down low. Problem is this. I'm gonna tell you this right now. The game has evolved into being able to stretch the floor and just be able to present so many scoring threats and abilities to score. Mohan and Azuna are not floor spacers. They are primarily in the paint. I can't even say merchants, but they just do the work in the paint, both on offense and defense. Um, which is why you need that guard play to be able to step up. J Love Richter, this is a big year. He's now in that position where he's going to be relied on to be the lead guy. Bill Brooks is okay, but he is not necessarily a combo guard. He's a little bit of a shorter wing, but he can compensate the little bit lack of size with his skill. He's very good. I really like Bobby Pearson as a wing guy, and at the three, I think he will do very well in the ACC. J Love Richter needs to step up as a point guard, and the guy behind him is Tim Duncan. For those that watched the Xavier versus Weber State game for March Madness, know who I'm talking about. Simply put, when it comes to the guard depth, I like it in terms of ACC competition. If you are to put this guard room in front of me and ask me, does this bring you a national championship? Right now, I say no, but it could become that if Richter takes the steps that he needs and is responsible as a student athlete. I'll put it like that. So that's my take on Louisville. We're skipping over
Mhm.
Miami and NC State. Unfortunately, those are also non-factors. Miami could have been, but their NIL funds got canceled out because Pitbull needed them more. It is what it is. All right, your team. Your team, man. Then Tar Heels. My personal favorite color of my personal favorite shade of blue that isn't the Michigan or Creighton blue. It is what it is. Um, Tell me about your team and whether you believe and this can be in terms of an analytical approach to this. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm just bumping my team because I'm bumping my team. You can take a different approach to this, or you can absolutely toot your own horn. But more importantly, it's about what you believe and what you want to go with this or how you want to go about this. North Carolina, your brand
Is
new
a
team. They win a national championship or win an ACC title. I don't know about both. Maybe one. What needs to happen?
Yeah. If the youth movement progresses further than I even hoped for this year, um, I think North Carolina's a year away from being back in the top 15 consideration that we've been in the last every year that I've been the coach at Carolina. Um, that said, Carolina, I wholeheartedly believe Carolina has all the talent in the world. They're just extremely young. Starting three freshmen, starting Trey Teeter at power forward, who's a sophomore that did not play much as a freshman. So you could, I mean, there's an argument. They are playing four guys that have not played real quality minutes in the ACC or in college basketball as a whole. So if they can, they will develop together, and I firmly believe in the next year, maybe two, but I think the next year we'll be back in the fight. We'll be back in that top 10, top 15. I think this year would be to win national championship would need a serious run, but I do think to win the ACC you just need you need the freshmen to play like the freshmen played this year in IRL college basketball. If you can get them to elevate and play like grown men instead of 18-year-olds, then I think we can make a run. I mean, I really am. My goal this year is to be better than everybody's projecting. I I, I think I think Gus Jackson is the Cormac Ryan of this team. He is the JP Tokoto of 2013. When I really think this team is a lot similar to the 2013 North Carolina team that had JB Tokoto and James Michael McAdoo as the veterans with guys that did not play that played bigger roles than most freshmen do at North Carolina, but you knew them by the time they left. Guys like Marcus Page, guys like Bryce Johnson, guys like Kennedy Meeks, Justin Jackson. So if that's the vision I have with this North Carolina team. So KJ Lidekia, Zelikov, Trey Teeter, Trey Banks, those guys, I have no doubt will be just like Marcus Page and Justin Jackson. I just think it may take a year. So can 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 Gus Jackson elevate North Carolina in the youth? I think Carolina is close. It's how far the freshmen will take us.
Sure. And I totally see the vision here with this, and I definitely think that there's at 100% a bright future. If I were to talk about more like after this season and beyond, because it's without a doubt, there's just so much to look forward to and a whole lot of time ahead just to see how everybody progresses. In terms of the now, though, I I do see an ACC title within reach, and it would happen if if the freshmen and those young guys they developed the kind of chemistry that allows them to progress together very well. Gus Jackson to me is much bigger than a Cormac Ryan. This is the guy that is going to be the face of the team this season. Without a doubt, when you think of North Carolina, you're going to think that guy. You're going to think the guy that that hit big shots for Michigan State in last year's March Madness run to the Final Four or Forever Four, whatever we want to call it now. Um, as we just had a hiccup with the internet. That's tough. It's all right though. I think we're going to recover. Um, what was I saying? Right. You're going to think of him. You're going to think of guys that also help him do his job at least to start. Maybe as things
Mm-hmm.
go along, the how do I say it, the progression in terms of how big of a responsibility he has in terms of being the main scoring option decreases, and if that happens, it bodes well for North Carolina. But if he is still the one that's relied on majority of the offensive output, I don't see that in terms of ACC. Maybe a semifinals appearance, but nothing more than that if that's the case. National championship hopes, just not this year, I don't think. and this is me saying this with love and with love and respect, but I know that in the coming seasons, this North Carolina team is going to be back where they are expected to be, which is amongst the elite teams in the country. So I have no,
If the underclassmen could stay together, I think we can win a national championship in the next 4 years, just not this year.
I have belief that it happens. So I'm going off of that as well. Okay, Notre Dame. You'd think that this is football the way I'm about to talk about them. National championship aspirations are at an all-time high for this Irish squad, and they're my personal favorite to win the ACC. Not necessarily yours, but mine. Um, what needs to happen for them to win one of those things, or very possibly both?
If the returning starters take the next step, and I think that, I mean, I think it can be that simple. Um, they have three returning starters, but the three returning starters need to still take that next step, and they need to still elevate, because now they are the three main guys. I mean, they still brought in Booger McFarland. They brought in a couple, but I still think Notre Dame goes as far as that trio takes them. And I mean, I think I don't have Notre Dame winning the ACC. I think, but I do think Notre Dame is next. I think it's Duke or Notre Dame, maybe Florida State or Louisville, but I think Duke and Notre Dame are the clear favorites. And the reason I have Duke over Notre Dame is just because they have a little their veteran talent is a little bit more proven than Notre Dame is. Um, that said, if Notre Dame's returning veterans take that next step, then I think they're right there, if not above Duke.
I'm in the same boat as you. Um, there's a certain player on this team that I am keeping a very close eye on throughout the entire season, and his name is Jeremiah Wyatt. This is a former number 2 overall player in his high school class. Throughout his first 2 seasons has not produced like it, but from what I saw during the preseason in the little Pike preseason invitational where it was UConn versus the Irish, Jeremiah Wyatt had the best showing that I have seen from him personally, and it makes me very optimistic for what he could do. Primarily because early on he wasn't really a deep threat. He really couldn't shoot the three. It's evident he has worked on that shot, and that I think unlocks so much. And so if the 5-star will 5-star, Notre Dame's going to be in a great spot. And I personally don't think Booger McFarland needs to all of a sudden become this elite scorer that he wasn't at Rutgers. His defensive ability is tremendous. To me, he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire country. And I ultimately believe that if you get double figure scoring out of him on average, you are in a very good place if you are Notre Dame. And this is not to mention that I really, really, really love their depth. Their depth to me
Mhm.
is is what makes their floor so incredibly high. And so I see a case for both a national championship and an ACC title. The chances that they get both, not really up there, but it's 100% doable, and it's much better than a whole bunch of other teams. We can put it that way. So that's our verdict on Notre Dame. All right.
Well, I mean, it's if you look at the IRL history, it's been I can't remember who the last team that did it might have been, but no, the ACC teams that win the national championship historically do not win the ACC championship. I
Mm.
mean, I remember, especially North Carolina. I mean, they lost to Virginia in 2017. then
Oh,
won the national championship. I believe Duke beat Virginia in 2019 when Virginia won the national championship. It's funny, interesting, ironic, whatever word you wanted. Very rarely do the teams win both.
interesting.
So it's almost a bad luck charm if you win the ACC championship. You might have an early exit. That seems to be the common thread.
Didn't realize, and I kind of forgot that North Carolina won the. It was they won the tournament, the ACC tournament in 2016. So they were.
And lost, and I don't remember that national championship game. So
Yep,
um
the most
that
iconic moment in
that
college basketball history, personally. I
you
believe.
you know he's cousins with Nate Britt, who played at Carolina too. That made it even worse. So Chris Jenkins.
Yikes! Yikes! Oh, that's tough. Wow, I didn't even know that. Here's your little
Well, I,
fact of
I,
the
I
day.
remember that because yeah, my grandmother taught Nate Britt in high school. So
Very cool.
out in Wood.
Very cool, but also very unfortunate. Um,
Yeah.
okay, this is a brand new team in the ecosystem. I haven't heard this name be brought up at all in terms of any sort of consideration in a long, long time. The Pitt Panthers, man. They they got a team. I don't know if they're going to be all that, but they got a team, and maybe they could find their way into the tournament. I personally don't project them that way right now, but maybe because I do like their youth. I'm not going to say national championship. I can maybe consider them as an ACC title hopeful, but that's best case scenario. What is that best case scenario?
Semifinals or quarterfinals of the ACC tournament. I think if Pitt can position themselves to, I think Pitt can easily position themselves to maybe win one or two games in the conference tournament, and that could put them on the bubble, especially with being an expanded tournament. I think that's the best they can hope for. Um, they might be able to get an upset over I mean, what I think the projected 10 seed in the ACC, so that'd be beating the 7 seed. I mean, I think they could win a game or two in the ACC tournament, so that's about it. Um, maybe maybe in a year. I mean, I know they're young, so I don't have a lot of faith in the future, but I think their future's a little bit brighter than it has been in a long time.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say except for that. We'll see. Maybe things change and the outlook is brighter. In the future, like you said. But yeah, right now, nah.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Syracuse. This one makes me sad. I'm not gonna lie. Um, no national championship case. I cannot make that at all. Is there any possibility for an ACC title with them? Any?
If their front court transferred back from Duke mid-season, maybe I don't know. No,
Uh,
not really.
if this was the actual IRL like college basketball environment
Frank
that
would
we
ask them.
that we had implemented, I hope everybody understands that type of crap is not fully off the table, no matter how illogical it seems. But this is
Mhm.
LSL we're talking about, and we have more structure than the NCAA, believe it or not. So yeah, I'm sad for them. I'm sad for them because of what happened, and I think we'll talk more about them a little bit in the next segment. I think if it's that one, I'll just have to look again. Virginia, a bit, definitely a much better case. I don't know about a national championship. I don't think so. ACC title, shot in the dark. What should happen? What or
If
not? What should happen? But what can happen, or what could happen?
if they get the right matchups, I think if they they can position themselves where they match up well against a couple of the ACC teams that are projected above them, where they could, I mean, maybe sneak a run in. I think ACC champions, no, but easily could surprise themselves into the semifinals or maybe the championship game and lose just if they get the right matchups and maybe a team gets an injured player or something. They run into a Duke without Steve Reeves or something like that. But I think that's I don't think they beat the top four unless something special happens. I think the top four Virginia's a little bit further away from the top four than they could be to make a run.
I'm on the same boat with you. I really don't have much more to add to this. All I can say is that you better hope that that you're an excellent 3-point shooting team if you're a Virginia fan. Otherwise, I don't see it at all. Um, Virginia Tech. Um, I don't really hold them in super high regard. At the very least, they have the chance to maybe sneak into the field of 80. Do we have any sort of vision for them for an ACC title? Because national title, it would be a fever dream situation for them.
If hell freezes over,
If hell freezes over is exactly what I would say. I don't even have much to add to this, except I look at their roster. They only have one dude that's 6'10", and everybody else is shorter.
mm,
Good grief. Um, yeah, that's wow. To think that this is also the team that beforehand at one point started 7'6" and 7'4" at the same time, and now
yeah,
this.
I
Highly
didn't mind.
unfortunate. I got nothing to say about that one. Good luck, Hokies. Last one. Maybe a start of a resurgence here after a little hiatus. Mr. McQueen wanted to go play some golf. I don't get the catch there, but it is what it is. I'm not a golf truther, but maybe I will once I start getting some gray hair. Um, the Demon Deacons, though, maybe there's a little bit of light now in looking ahead in the future. Do we see any sort of ACC title potential here? Because at the very least, I can say national title, at least not now.
If the youth movement progresses quicker than expected, and if Jared Donovan is the number two ranked player, and if he plays like the number two ranked player in the class.
He was at one point the number one player, and he kind of slid down. Scouts haven't been able to really explain why yet, but I don't know. Another ACC rival could, but that's for them to want to talk about or not. But Jerry Donovan and Requise Percy are absolutely the two guys that Wake Forest wants to keep and wants to build around going forward. Um, if they get that progression from them, I mean, they could make a sneaky run. I kind of like the profile.
Well,
They're big up front.
semifinals.
Yeah, Blaze Vespi is a sneaky good player. Jaden Money is actually a very good shooter from deep, especially from what I can see. Yeah, these numbers are from Boise State, but he shot 42% from three, so he's capable. And the tools are there. I don't think they have enough, especially in terms of an overall team, but there's something to look forward to here. Maybe a sneaky ACC semifinals appearance this season.
Mhm.
Um, so very interesting outlook for the ACC, but I think we got to now start separating these teams a little bit in a different way, and we're gonna look at it from a winners and losers perspective, especially from the lens of, all right, we just had this off season. Yeah, we took a little bit of a hiatus, but it's still fresh on our minds because of how much happened. My goodness, it was very active. Um, I'd like for us to pick our own three winners and then three losers. We'll alternate on those, and we'll start with our three winners. My good man, you can go first. Who's your primary winner of the offseason from this conference?
I'd have to go with Duke. Adding four starters from the transfer portal brings in not just veteran talent, but also players that have proven themselves, not only in the ACC, getting both De'Aaron Payne and Steve Reeves from Syracuse, but also players like Deuce Bridges and Jacob Huntington that have proven themselves in March as well.
I like that. That's a good first winner. And by the way, just to let everyone know, it does not have to be specifically bounded to teams. It can be a specific player. It can be a coach. It can be anything related to the ACC. It's a wide range here, and because of that, I am going to go in this direction. My primary winner here is Bonzi Upshaw III. He is finally going to be the guy. And also, he is going to be the guy at his childhood dream school, Florida State. He could not go there the first time around because of who was coaching there. But now he gets to play a year there, and he's fully developed from his time as a Tar Heel, and he's the guy. That's as big of a win as it gets for me personally. Who's your number two?
Mm-hmm. So I went with an interesting. I said the freshman, not just because there are a lot of freshman talent in the ACC, but I think, especially with North Carolina, especially with Wake Forest, a lot of freshmen are getting early starting opportunities to be key contributors. So I think the freshmen are winners not only now, but I think because it'll help them develop for the future because they're going to get playing time and they're going to get a lot of playing time.
Yeah, a good number of ACC teams are starting at least one freshman. The youth movement, we haven't seen the youth movement really take effect in quite a while. It's finally starting to pick up. It's refreshing to see. My second winner here. This is a tough one, but I'm going to go with Pike because I believe that not only does he finally have the pieces that he really wants, but I also think that he has figured it out schematically and strategically. I really like what Pike has been able to accomplish this offseason and through what we have seen in the preseason. I know it's a little bit of a taste and things can go sideways very easily, but I'm very optimistic in it, and I think he is a big winner of this offseason. Number three for you.
Yeah, so my third was Pike and Notre Dame just because I thought um, being able to retain starters is always difficult, especially now. And then adding Booger McFarland is a good schematical add. So I'm going to move away from that since you just talked about Notre Dame, and I'm going to say Florida State. Adding five starters from the transfer portal. You mentioned Bonzi Upshaw. I think it was a strong. I mean, those five in general is a really good transfer portal class, and that's not including adding the players on the bench as well. So I think they had a strong off season, and that puts them back into ACC championship consideration because I think they're a top 3 or 4 team in the conference.
This last winner for me, you could call a cop out, but for me personally, especially with how I see the differences between this year and last year, I'm gonna just say the conference as a whole is a winner from this offseason because I think overall they just got stronger. The how do I say it? The middle part of the conference, like you think about it like an Oreo cookie. I'm an Oreo cookie addict, so bear with me here. The cream of this conference is a lot better than it was last year. I mean, what was the exact number last year? I think it was only seven ACC teams because I remember I'm gonna do a count here. It was Duke, Louisville, your team, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Virginia, and Virginia. What did Virginia Tech get left out? I'm starting to think Virginia Tech got
I thought
left out.
Virginia Tech was. I thought Virginia Tech was one of those first 4 or first 8 out, but I don't remember either.
Yeah, but I only remember like exclusively like five teams from the ACC making it. I can see way more than that. If
Mhm.
best case scenario, it could be double. We could see 10 ACC teams make the tournament this year, and I think just collectively that is a big win for the conference. So that's my final winner.
Mhm.
All right, we got to get a little negative here, unfortunately. The losers. Who's your first one?
Syracuse. First of all, with what they lost the entire front court to an ACC rival, and then just weren't really able to recover from that.
I
They
don't.
added talent, but they didn't. They didn't. You would hope that they would be able to elevate, and the talent they added wasn't even able to replace what they lost. So I think they're a little worse than they were last year, especially considering the fact that the ACC, you said ACC as a whole was better. Being a team that's worse than last year's disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. This I don't want to go this way, but in a way, it is technically a different answer. Coach Reeves himself of Syracuse. And I want to highlight specifically the point in the offseason where Jarius Huntington his
Mm-hmm.
his decision to follow Reeves to Syracuse per the hardcore like written out rules was deemed illegal because of the timing and because he didn't initially list himself as a do not contact transfer. And
Mm-hmm.
technicalities hurt, but they're there for a reason. And as much as I didn't want to do it, I had to. And ever since I haven't really heard much from Reeves. I hope I hope he doesn't I hope he isn't taking it personally because it's not personal. It's just precedent. And I love the dude to death. I love what he did at Penn State. Um, I wish things played out differently, and just because of that, he is indeed my primary loser of this offseason. And it's out of love and respect. It's not a oh I'm dunking on him. It's just
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately that's the case. All right, who's your number two?
Clemson, um, mostly because I think they lose veteran talent, but they also I'm a little. They went with a lot of mid-major talent, and I'm concerned with how much that can translate over to. Um, I think loser does not necessarily mean they're going to be a bad team. I still think Clemson can be very good. I think Clemson missed out on a couple opportunities that could that they add one or two players instead, then they could elevate themselves 3 or 4 spots higher in the ACC.
I can see it for Clemson. In terms of last year, they were complete dog crap. I'll just put it that way. So they're already
Mhm.
going to be better than what they were, but that's like saying that the Pistons got better after their historically crappy season. It's like okay, cool. We expected it, in some sort of way. My second loser is Virginia Tech. You boys are small. You start nobody above 6'10". You are going to get eaten alive in this ACC conference that has gained size, that has gained strength. You better pray to the basketball gods that you, at the very least, do not finish outside of the top 10 in the conference. Who's your third?
Yeah, and, uh, to be short and sweet, I had Virginia Tech as my third just because I think their size will cripple their and hinder their ceiling. And so it would have been nice to see if they got one or two guys in the front court that could have helped elevate because I do think they have talent. I just think they're going to get smothered.
Mm-hmm. What would be your third now? Because I said Virginia Tech for my second.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I I guess Pittsburgh, just because Pittsburgh was that not the guy that was the coach that came in saying he was gonna be a top 25 team year one and then struck out on most of the users.
He
Am I
t-
remembering that correctly?
um to be honest, when you say that, I think of multiple names. So I don't.
Yeah, well, okay. I feel like I remember that because I remember that riled up the West Virginia truthers in the coaches chat that started screaming "Eat shit, Pitt."
You
I
may,
feel like that's.
I think you're onto something there.
I feel
Yeah.
like I remember that,
Yeah.
but
Underrated
I
rivalry,
mean,
by the way.
yeah,
I
2007.
Oh yeah, no. The what a time to be alive back then for them
I
boys.
don't I don't think I don't think Tito wants me to talk about 2007. So
Yeah.
2017.
Incoming Venmo from him for you to not talk about it, and then we'll have to investigate him. Just kidding. Um, don't Brennan Sorsby yourself, man. That's all I gotta say. Um, my third and final loser. You know what? This is out of comedy and this is out of spite. Or you know what? No, I'm not gonna go that route. You know, he doesn't even deserve my mention of him. So I'll just simply say, let's see. Ooh, this is gonna be interesting. I'm gonna be controversial with this, and this is gonna sound so weird, but you're gonna have to hear me out. J. Love Richter is a loser this offseason. Let me explain. He's now got all this pressure on him to deliver as the starting point guard of Louisville. He has not shown adequate progression in terms of the consistency needed to be able to have Louisville considered higher in our tiers and our rankings and just overall outlook on these teams and who we believe are national title contenders. Um, Listen, I'm concerned about him. I'm concerned because now this is a guy that needs to change his habits in order to become what Coach O'Day wants for him to become consistently. He had a decent game against Oregon. I understand that. Preseason setting, you always have to kind of put an asterisk on that, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but even O'Day himself has come out on record and said I'm a little bit underwhelmed by his progression, meaning it's not what he has what he hoped for. He hoped for more. So because of that, I say he's a loser because the expectations have not changed, and he hasn't shown what's required to have belief that he will meet those expectations, and they're still going to be there. So weird answer, but that's my logic. Um, Anything to say
I
about
would
that
agree
before we
with
move
that
on?
for I would agree with that for a different reason than you did. I think because he played well against Oregon, showing he can do it, that he's more of a it's that will increase the pressure more than the post off season would have. I think he's proven he can do it. It's not a so now the expectation is that he does that day in and day out, and that's the difference between what Louisville wants to achieve and what Louisville actually achieves.
I feel like if we do commit to the bit and we do continue with like episodes and stuff even during the season, why do I feel like we're going to always have some sort of segment each week just checking in on J Love Richter? I don't. Why do I feel this to be a thing? I I personally don't know. It's just a gut feeling. It's
I think
just
it's the
truth.
difference between Louisville being a top 10 team and a top 25 team,
It's a big swing.
and I think that's a big swing
It's a big
because
swing.
it's a big. because it's a big year for him.
Yep. And if you caught my word there, swing, because we're now swinging into our next segment, which is now a little bit of an also very interesting exercise that I did with Pugsley before for the Big 12. For the ACC now, we are about to try and identify each team's swing piece. So if you weren't here yesterday, I said that that a swing piece is regarded as a player that elevates them from good to possibly great. It does not mean they are their best, second best, or third best player. Simply means if they do what they need to do and play their role, the team benefits a whole lot from it. So this will be an interesting exercise, and I think we're already going to start with a team um, that how do I say this best? Man, you could call any of these guys a swing piece on this team, and I don't you wouldn't be incorrect. Clemson, who you got?
Vernon Collins, the transfer center from Princeton, I think, had elite stats last year, averaged 25 and 12. Um, I I think the difference between a good Clemson and a bad Clemson is how does that translate to the ACC, especially um, it's big jump up from Princeton to the ACC in terms of conference competition, and then also the fact that as a center in as a center last season, he only shot 48% from the field. So I'm a little apprehensive about how that translates over to the ACC.
Of
So I
course.
think the difference between a good Vernon Collins and a below average Vernon Collins is the difference between Clemson being a bottom 2 or 3 team in the conference or a team that could be sneaky.
Of course. Um, I'm gonna try and speed things up, just because I did how do I say it, give my word to somebody that I'd be there for something. But I think
Mhm.
this is easy to do, and we'll list it off. We can give thought later on, like maybe a different episode. But yeah, I
Okay.
agree with Vernon Collins because I identified Clemson to be a backcourt dependent team. So I agree with the Vernon Collins bit. Duke, I think we have the same answer.
I wanted to just to say the backcourt in general, but I'm gonna zero in on DJ Graham.
Yep, exactly. Same here. I have confidence Deuce Bridges will do what he needs to do. He's not necessarily a swing piece in my opinion. I think he's reliable. DJ Graham,
Mhm.
if you are serviceable on Duke, that's already an upgrade from being serviceable on Ohio State. Um,
Mhm.
Florida State, who you got?
Silas Sunday.
Mm, I'm
I
gonna
think just again just how he transfers over from Iona.
could see that. I actually think he's going to be one of their best guys. My answer is actually Amari Marshall. How does he pair with Bonzi Upshaw, the second? Do they complement each other well? If they do, that is a big swing
Mhm.
from being good to possibly making a Cinderella run to the Elite Eight. Um, Louisville, who you got? I think this is also an easy one.
I love Victor.
Swing on in, Richter. Just stay away from the alcohol. Your team, North Carolina, who you got?
AJ Lidecker.
Ooh, I actually think he's going to be one of your best guys. If anything, I'm
And
looking.
I think KJ. I think just because being a point guard as a freshman is a big ask, and I'm asking a lot out of him. So
That's a good
how
point.
it's not how good he is, it's how quickly he can reach that.
Yes, yes, I agree with that for sure. I'm gonna go in a different direction just because I do believe he does deliver, and I think there are just more question marks throughout the other spots. I'm looking primarily at your front court, and I'm gonna be looking at Trey Banks as the swing piece. I know it's a little bit of pressure for him, but I think Trey Teeter makes that freshman to sophomore leap, and I know usually it's like, oh,
Mm.
it's a slump. No, when you're going from the bench to a starting spot, It's not about whether you make the leap or not. It's about how big. So
Mhm.
Teeter's not my answer. It's actually Trey Banks. Notre Dame. Who you got?
Boga McFarland. How quickly and how effectively does he fit into the
Yep.
system?
Same answer. Same answer. We know he's gonna bring. We know he's gonna bring the defense. Defense is not something that has to find a way to translate into a system. You either have it or you don't. Offensively, I
Mhm.
want to see if he makes a step. If he does, this Notre Dame team is elite. Um,
Mhm.
Pitt. This is a weird one. I feel like they're a Clemson type situation. Who you got?
Elijah Jameson, just a point guard from a mid major. How does that translate to the ACC?
Fair. I have a different answer because I think the experience overall, just playing at the collegiate level, will translate in some sort of way. I'm looking at Daniel Ramsey. Uh, the only true 7-footer on this team. I really like his skill set. Um,
Mhm.
my only concern is that what's behind him is mid-major quality at best. So he's gonna need
Mhm.
to step up. Um, Syracuse also kind of like the same boat here. Who you got?
I went with one of the only few returning players from last year, Tyrone Crocker.
I think he's going to be their best player overall. So I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to say James Hughes, the freshman, because he just simply needs to be a good complement to Tyron Crocker in what he is going to have to do for this team. Tyron Crocker and Mordecai Mull are going to have to carry this team on their backs. Max McKinnon is just going to
Mhm.
have to launch threes whenever he touches the ball. James Hughes just needs to be able to fit in well and be able to complement what those other backcourt guys are about to do. So, um, Virginia, who you got?
I went with Mac McArthur.
Mac MacArthur's a good shout. I like him as a player. Um,
Mhm.
I can also
Just didn't
see the
play a lot at
same.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, not really, but he had some flashes. He had some flashes.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go in a different direction, and I'm gonna say Griffin Hall. If this dude is like a top 10 3-point shooter in terms of percentage and volume in the entire country, this Virginia team could give a lot of teams a scare. Because they're going to need to shoot the lights out and play in a mid-major type of way uh, to to win some games that they shouldn't really win. Virginia Tech. Who you got?
I think he's going to be one of their best players. I'm going to still go with Kalen Dravatha just because he did not play much at West Virginia. How so you don't know how good he can be. You think he's I think he's good. How good can he be will be the difference between a decent Virginia Tech team and a good Virginia Tech team.
I've got Derek Dumas, and even though he was technically a starter last year, even though the numbers don't suggest it, he was dealing with it with injury for a majority of the season. Uh, I just want to see some sort of progression from him, and he's definitely going to be asked to do more. I think based on the personnel, he's not going to be that top option, but just at the very least, let's see those percentages climb up. Um, Last one, Wake Forest. Who we got?
Bryson Buds, how does he pair well with how does he pair with the freshman Donovan in the backcourt?
Ooh, nice shout, the sixth man. I can see that. I can see that. Me personally, and this is putting pressure on a young guy, but Requise Percy. The
Mhm.
the the front court talent overall in the ACC is good. Requise Percy is going to need to be able to match that and maybe outproduce some of those guys by chance. Um, if he does that, Wake Forest might be able to elevate their ceiling a little bit. Might, but we'll see. Um, we had to kind of rush through that segment, unfortunately. And there is one more that we're going to do. I think we're just going to kind of list these off. I'm sure you already have yours. Our answers are not dependent on each other. It's just what we think. The last
Mhm.
segment is indeed talking and determining the three best backcourts and then the three best front courts, unless I had it flipped. No. So it was backcourts first and then front court second. We're gonna go top three, and we're just gonna list them from one to three or something like that. We'll just go from one to three, and we'll make this a quick
Mhm.
one. Who's the best ACC backcourt in your opinion?
I went with Notre Dame,
It's hard not to
and then
go with Notre Dame.
yeah,
Yeah, I,
and then two I actually went with Florida State,
I like it. I like theirs.
and then three I'm going to toot the horn of North Carolina.
The potential there is crazy. The potential there is
Mhm.
crazy. My number one is also Notre Dame. I have to agree with you. My number two is Florida State. I'm not copying you here. I'd like this is exactly what I thought as well.
Mhm.
Um, my number three, I'm going to pivot a little bit, and because I expect them to have to rely on them to be better than what they're projected to be, I'm going to say Virginia. I'm going to say Virginia here.
Mhm.
It's a weird one for me to say, but that's where I'm at with them. Front courts. I feel like this one's a little bit harder. Who you got?
Number one Duke.
Well,
Um,
that one's easy, yeah.
yeah. Second I had Louisville, and then third I went with Notre Dame.
I think with everything considered and just how we have evaluated these teams, yeah, Duke has the best front court, 100%. Um, my thing is this: I have to figure out if I have Notre Dame or Louisville that's at second, but otherwise, I I do think they are indeed the top three. Um, Me personally, because I really value the ability to play the modern game well and to be able to stretch out the floor, I'm gonna say Notre Dame two and Notre Dame two and Louisville three. Louisville
Mhm.
size, if we've evaluated just on that, number two. Notre Dame can stretch you out, and they're not exactly tiny either. And so it's easy for me to put them at number two in this case because I do think that's how they'll win. They don't necessarily need to be ultra super big. I have seen the formula for what they want to do, and I think it can absolutely work. So, yeah, Notre Dame two for me, and Louisville at three. Um, I guess any last remarks before we end this pod? As you
Uh,
are looking forward to what is it now? Is it your fourth season as North Carolina coach? Fourth, right?
believe fourth. Yes.
What are you looking forward to?
Um, well, I mean, I'm excited to see how we can develop together. Just building this. I mean, I'm just excited that I being able to build a complete roster um, of youth that we can all grow together and we can all elevate ourselves. Because they're going to push me to elevate myself as a coach, and I'm going to push them to elevate each one of them as a player. Um, but I'm also excited for the ACC as a whole because I do feel like we're taking the steps to be up there with some of the other top conferences, and I hope that continues to develop.
Of course. It seems like the ACC is on a good trajectory with constant improvements. So we'll see how it goes. But more importantly, I wish you and your Tar Heels the best of luck this season. I do expect y'all to be in March Madness in some sort of capacity, and it's house money from there. I believe just for this season alone. But yeah, hopefully expectations are exceeded like you hope for.
Thanks.
Of course. Guys, thank you very much for tuning on in. We have not determined yet the next episode, but as soon as I have figured things out and we do have a co host for that one, I will announce it. In the meantime, I am going to actually go over and crash the broadcast set over uh, with Legends.NCAAF. They are currently streaming a game. I believe they're in Austin, Texas, for Michigan versus at Texas. And if you want to hear more of me there, especially with me crashing the party late, listen. Reagan might be tempted to fire me, but there's a clause in my contract that says he can't. So it is what it is. I will be there, and hopefully, I will see you guys over there as well. And new podcast episode will be announced once things are figured out. Have a great rest of your day, guys.